At the starting of the week, at Summit Talks, you'll hear them speak. It's only Monday.
Audio 3.
Negotiations breaking down. See those leaders start to frown. It's sword and gun day. Tomorrow never comes until it's too late. Come with it. Come with it. Could be sitting, taking lunch. The news will hit you like a punch. It's only Tuesday.
What time is it?
You never thought we'd go to war after all the things we saw. It's April Fool's Day.
What time is it?
Hey, I can't really hear you. I don't know why. Oop. Can you all hear me? Okay. Well, hi. Let's see. What can I do? I'd love to hear y'all. I hope it's on my side of the thing. Maybe if I stop my mic and camera.
don't think so.
What's happening? Hey, Aiden, can you hear us now? Aiden. Aiden? What the
Emergency, come in, please.
Samsung? Can you hear us, Aiden? Now he can hear us. Is it Samsung?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Oh my God! Well, first of all, thank you for waiting through that
Yes.
malarkey. It was all us, and we just trying our best here, ghetto scholars behind these ones and twos. But let me go back. Aiden, you've been on Poor People's Radio before, and we have been fighting this AKK-demia colonization of our community, right? Of our community's parks, of our housing, of our shade canopy, our mama trees. They thought they got rid of us, but you can't erase us. So tell listeners and viewers a little history and history who don't know about, sadly, about People's Park, and then where you guys are at now.
Yeah, thank you for having us, Tiny. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity. This struggle is all of our struggles. Land is all of our responsibility. People's Park is, the birth child of the free speech movement from the 60s. In 1969, people gathered together. They realized, well, the university won't allow us to have free speech on campus. We don't want to serve in this war. We don't want people who are brown to be killed overseas. We need to be able to share our thoughts with each other. And so the university said, no, you can't do that on our campus. So people had this idea of, organizing on Telegraph Avenue, which is directly across from the university and goes all the way into Oakland. And so we have people like Michael Delacour and his girlfriend at the time, Leanne Chu, coming together and saying, like, we see this vacant lot that used to be housing right next to us. I think it's time to make a park. And in Berkeley Barb, the word got out. People brought their shovels, their kids, everything to the table, and they all came together to make this beautiful community space. Music, art, food, togetherness, swing sets, all of those things came together in one beautiful moment. But it was short lived because the University of California doesn't like us to have nice things. And so they shut down the park, they fenced it off. They then brought in the National Guard, and ultimately they ended up tear gassing people, shooting a person, James Rector, and the ASUC at the time created a vote to support the park, in which over 20,000 people marched around the park to say that they did not support what happened there. Newsflash, 56 years later, we're here in 2025. The park has had an extended history, 50 years of people gathering together. The Black Panther Party is in there. The hippie movement with the Grateful Dead folks are all there. But in 2018, the then UC Berkeley Chancellor Carol Christ, came up with this idea that it's finally time to build housing on People's Park. As a result, they made sure that the conditions of the park continuously got degraded. Every time we built something in favor of people, like a free box, it was immediately destroyed. And it got to the point where in 2023, 2024, the park really became like intentionally neglected by the university. They made sure that we, individual people, could not take care of each other and also fight the university as a whole. So a lot of us went into mutual aid work, making sure that people remain fed, making sure that people still have resources across the city. And the university on January 4th, 2024, decided to bring their riot police, which was normal, but this time is different. They brought shipping containers with them, stacked those shipping containers 2 times high, and then left that for quite a bit of time. As a result, we protested them on Valentine's Day 2025. We made sure that the UC knows that we're still there. We took a bunch of their rocks that they left on one part of the park, the open side outside of the shipping containers, and we made a beautiful garden. We also went on top of the shipping containers to express our displeasure. We made sure that people knew it was a non-violent public display of displeasure that the university cannot stop our hearts. We can go over these shipping containers at any point in time. We're law-abiding. We choose to be here. We fight for this. And so as a result, they put razor wire on top to prevent us from being able to do that again. But as we were on top of the shipping containers, they had brought in UC Berkeley riot police who were brandishing their batons at us, which was just, like, this was the first time we were able to see the park from our own eyes. And members of our community from 80 years old to like 17 years old went up there to bear witness. And it was the first time for me to really understand that this was a huge grief for us, to be able to look at the destruction of our own work, of our own play, the memories we had. And UC Berkeley destroyed it for no other reason other than what they say is to bring people into the housing complex. Long story short, we're still here. It's November. We're fighting against the university. We're still gardening. We're doing art classes on Saturdays. We have free speech Sundays, open mics right across the street from the park on Mad Mom Case and Telegraph. And we're still fighting. And UC Berkeley has essentially, within the last 2 weeks, pushed a lot of propaganda out saying, like, look, we have our vertical building, our high rises ready to go. They'd start interviewing people who are disaffected by the park, saying like, the times of the beauty of the park are gone. Now it's a haven of crime, is what they like to say. But they don't argue or like even interview those who are actively defending it. So we have people who are getting arrested right now just because they want to chalk on the sidewalks, or they take video recordings of the security workers. Even myself, I've gotten arrested for blocking one of the cement trucks from coming out of the park, taking the Santa Rita. And so there's this continuous violent narrative against the park protesters while also saying that we don't exist, or that we continuously, they say that we have no bearing against the project, but they like to interview people who are otherwise disaffected. With that said, needless to say, is that the people who are still here are fighting desperately for the park. We're all heartbroken. We all feel like they've done a grave mismanagement of the public trust, that they've created an abomination of a building on, these graves of our friends that they allowed to die during this process. And it's important to note that UC Berkeley did that. They had the ability to know that people were overdosing on that park, and they allowed it to be an open field where people couldn't get help, where people who were selling those drugs weren't being stayed away. So the university, knowing that they allowed the park to degrade in the conditions and allowed people to die because of that degradation, they made that the case to say that now it's finally time to build. So not only did they take away all of our supportive networks, they took away the lights at night while people were sleeping there. They took away our water fountains so people couldn't feel safe going to play basketball. They continued to make sure that we had to have those gel cells of a toilet so people didn't have dignity as they were coming into the park. And there was no alternative for people. And there still isn't, pretty much so. A lot of people are just kind of like displaced at this point in time. So I just wanted to give that background is that people are still here, but you might not be hearing from them because UC and the city pushed everyone to Oakland and San Francisco and Fremont. But we do have a large contingent of people here too. We still have Berkeley High students. More and more UC Berkeley students every single day want to learn about the park. We're having a panel discussion on the 18th at the ASUC building with the student government, Eshelman Chambers. And so these are opportunities to, give us the chance to explain ourselves. What do we want moving forward? What do we see our future to be, despite UC Berkeley's encroachment? And from the people I talk to, all of us want the rest of it to remain a park. We want our free speech stage back. We want our community gardens back. We want the ability to congregate there. And I'll just leave it at that because I know that there's so much more to go through when it comes to this, but it's also like, how do we make sure that the park is protected?
Shay, well, let me just say this, first of all, that these, corporate academic institutions are some of the big.
Sorry, let me know if that's too loud.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry, hon. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead. I'm just gonna, there's an alarm. I'm gonna turn it off, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
No,
I was just going to say these corporate academic institutions are some of the biggest Gentra efforts, from Temple University to, so-called UC Berkeley. So we already know they're involved in the Durham Industrial Complex. They, summarily do evictions so that they can build their fake, housing that is overpriced to students beyond they can even afford. So it's a trajectory that is already logical because they steal land and they never give reparations to the first peoples upon whose lands they're on.
Right.
And then they charge, money for knowledge. I mean, so it's a whole system. I say that to say I witnessed that violence of those barricades and that tear gas and that shipping container insanity. And it really clearly was a war, right? These were acts of war against Mother Earth and Mother Earth's people. So I don't want anybody to think that it was anything less than that. And warriors like Aiden and a lot of us at Poor Magazine and many other folks just didn't give up. They kept rising up. They kept being in resistance, which is all you can do. I just want to know from you, though, Aiden, because this ridiculous housing is being built, what is their so-called future plan for that space? Are they eventually they've got to take those shipping containers down? I mean, what?
Yeah. And I want to echo what you said is that this is something that's continuous. So we've seen what's happened to these spaces in the past, and oftentimes it becomes restricted. Either they'll use surveillance against people like they're doing at Head Hall, or they'll put entire barricades around the property like they've done at Unit 2, which is across the street from People's Park. But I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I want to make sure I get it.
Oh, well, what is their quote plan for People's Park?
Yeah, well, UC Berkeley is trying to frame it in a sense that this is something that's disability forward, that it's going to provide a resource for the entire community, and that their biggest thing is that over 1,000 students are going to be housed in that building, which should, really raise flags when you hear that, is because, okay, a fire alarm is going to go off. Are you saying that over 1,000 students are going to flood onto the street on Haston Telegraph and Dowditch? Are they going to go to Telegraph Avenue? So their project is ultimately to make it so difficult for people to feel like they have a safe space again. The nooks and crannies that they can communicate with each other, the tables and the chess clubs that were in the park. They want to make it so difficult and have so many eyes on that park that people will no longer want to congregate there, and therefore it can only be used for student housing purposes. one of UC's other design plans is to make sure that there's a quote unquote affordable housing section. UC on their website says that they have no intention of being affiliated with that program, the affordable housing site, which they killed a bunch of our trees for. But they want it to be targeted to quote unquote formerly unhoused people. So the last time I saw the actual documentation, I'm sure it's changed. They said that people with roughly about $50,000 a year would be eligible for that housing on People's Park. And it would be from anywhere in California. It's not specifically folks that are in the neighborhood or folks who've been displaced, but it would be because it's open market, it would be anyone can apply for it. But there aren't really that much details that they've provided. Right now, the news is all about like, we want to make sure that students get that housing and they're right on time for the 2027-2028 year. Quickly, they do give us some type of like a reward, I guess, for our patients is that they want to make a historic, site with a few of our trees. I believe there's like 3 trees remaining in the section that they want to give us. And that plus and they're very keen. They like to say 60% of the park is going to be open space. But when I did a Public Records Act request and I worked with the city to see what's going on, they said this is proprietary material. The landscape architects control it, and so you'd have to go in person to see it. But when you do that, you see that most of those buildings are, or most of that space is either going to be concrete or it's going to be boulders to prevent people from congregating on that land. And so if and again, this is all mysterious because UC Berkeley is working through concept art, not necessarily through business plans. But all of this is to say that we will be monitored 24/7, whether it's above us, on the sides of us, or below us on Telegraph Avenue with this housing project. And we just have to get used to it. The difficulty is that we live here and we're not going to get used to it. Nothing can change the fact that they violently displaced us, that they seized this land from us, that they blockaded us out of it. And me personally, I don't believe that we're separate from nature. I don't think my heart can separate itself from People's Park. I just
Thank
don't.
you.
I'm not a corporation. I'm not a machine, And
Thank
so,
you.
like, to think that we somehow will just have to sit idly by as they continuously destroy nature. They prevent us from seeing the stars. They prevent the birds from having a congregation space. They prevent us from being able to collaborate with each other in an open space. All I can say is UC feels entitled to this land because they have the right to take land from anyone according to the California Constitution, and they will continue to do that tax exempt until someone stops them.
Wow. Did you want to ask anything before we close?
Well, just again, Aiden, thank you for standing up. We had a couple of opportunities to go and support Report Magazine, and we saw the militarization of liberal Berkeley.
Yeah.
The hypocrisy of what you were saying, all these anti-war movement that happened in the '60s, and look what it has become. A shame for Berkeley, a shame for UC Berkeley, and the politricksters who are now running, that police state city. Again, I just want to say, thank you also for that beautiful resistance spirit of the people that even when they shut down our parks and the places that we gather, we always find a place, and there's always going to be a sidewalk, and there's always going to be a corner, and there's always going to be somewhere that we can congregate and dream about a different world. I just want to say, the Zapatistas talk about a lot about this, that taking advantage of these places, but those places don't define our movement. If you take away those places, people still will live and thrive and gather and organize by any means necessary. And we're seeing it here in Berkeley. So big shout outs to all the young folks, all the folks who keep congregating and being, and being human.
Ashe. Any last words, hon? I know you have to go, but any last words for listeners and viewers?
Oh, I have so much time for you all. You'll have to cut me off. But the big thing that I want to get across is that UC Berkeley has this strategic plan, and the idea that the park is history just doesn't it doesn't mesh with that plan. So democracy is important, but UC Berkeley, through destroying People's Park, has betrayed its own legacy. The
Right.
free speech movement wasn't abstract. It was a third world led movement. It was land based and people led. But UC Berkeley continues to surveil and fence and militarize its police, which is not democratic in the first place. People's Park is full of social equity. It's a spirit where people who are displaced, where people are kicked off the sidewalks, can go together. But
Oh,
this university is forced on exclusionary zoning, luxury developments. Even the city of Berkeley, their projected housing plans are 41% above median income housing. That is 41% of luxury housing to be built until 2030. And so
mm,
People's Park was that solution where people can have a tent out.
mm,
Climate change and resistance, it's like the park was an ecological refuge in a dying
yeah,
urban gray environment, and they
yeah,
chose to bulldoze that. Public
yeah.
health, they chose to prevent us from being safe outdoors, to have food in a congregated area. And all of this comes down to UC wants to make a name for itself when it comes to quantum computing and gene engineering. And we see this with Gavin Newsom coming to the campus and all the contracts that are being led, and BlackRock having their real estate portfolio. But UC is using that technology in a negative way. They're using
Mm.
it to repress students and hoard knowledge rather than give it open source. The true
Oh,
innovators in any community are the ones that know how to work with land. And
that's right.
technology is supposed to be a bridge on how to make sure that we as individuals can communicate with the land in a way that both of us benefit from. However, UC is destroying our collective memory.
Mm.
And that means that they're destroying the future of freedom for all of these students.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you for clarifying and being, making a connection because
Yes.
it's supposedly a place of knowledge, right? But it's actually a space of destruction.
And gatekeeping.
Yep, absolutely. Aiden, we love you so much and we appreciate
Love you
your
always.
spirit.
Yes.
And I just know that, yeah, they can continue to bulldoze us and build their fake walls, and we will continue to rise up.
Yes. And congregate.
That part.
Yeah.
So
Keep
thank
your
you,
eyes on the
Aiden.
People's Park website. We're going to put a lot of stuff out, but remember that we do have that panel discussion. It's November 18th from 4:30 to 6:30 in the ASUC Union Building at Shimon Hall.
Please come out,
Yeah.
relatives. Please
Open
listen.
to everyone.
That's right. And thank you, Aiden. And you're always welcome to come back. We need you to continue to speak
Yes.
on this space because they cannot take it away from us.
Yes.
Omate.
I have
Thank
no
you,
intention
Aiden.
of leaving.
That
They're
part.
going to have
Thank you,
to deal with it.
Aiden. Yeah.
That part. All right.
Have a great
Talk
day.
to you soon, hon. All right. You're listening and watching Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, people. I just want to name that we're dealing with the violence of not only this theft of our Mother Earth, right? From Palestine to People's Park, from Haiti to West Papua to Sudan to right here on Black Arthur. But I want to say that we're resisting every day with
Yes.
the power of homefulness, with the
Yes.
power of Wood Street Commons, with the power of People's Park, with the power of all of us warriors refusing to stand down. And one of the things that we're facing right now is the attempted starvation. They're taking these little crumbs, aka SNAP, and yeah, they're trying to starve us all because we're just fodder, in the system. Now, we're not going to starve because we're going to support each other, and we're going to do work like Sliding Scale Cafe and our powerful work, the really, really free market. Shout out to Etna Street Solidarity. We're going to continue to walk with liberation, not scarcity. But it's important to talk about the reality that it's terrifying. It's terrifying when you depended on those crumbs and then the crumbs are taken. So we have a beautiful, beautiful sister who is also part of the movie, formerly houseless relative who is, part of the Powerful Crushing Wheelchairs movie and just a Poor Magazine family member, who also is the mother of 5 children and trying to make sure they're fed.
Yes.
in the face of this kind of violence. We want to start by introducing the beautiful Stephanie Gramp with a little video from her speaking at one
Super,
of the Crushing Wheelchairs movies previews.
a super baby mama.
That's right.
In random houses where nobody else lived. They were all broken down houses. Random driveways, random everywhere. Anywhere you could think of. By Carl's Jr., by the water fountain. But we made it. I ended up finding my family.
Oh, Amadeo.
Mm.
Welcome, Sister Stephanie. Welcome back to Poor People's Radio.
Hey, Stephanie.
Hi. Thank you for having us. We're all here, by the way.
That's how we roll. Look at all these warriors. So, Stephanie, there's so many things to talk about, but maybe you could start by saying, as a fellow mama in poverty and struggle and trying to take care of our babies with this scarcity crap. Tell us how you're impacted with them taking away our food crumbs.
Wow. So,
Right?
yeah, thank you for even asking that question because it's ridiculous. And we did get the little help, right? The help with the virtual cards. So, which it still doesn't make sense to me. So originally I get $1,100 in food stamps, right? And the virtual card that they sent me was $350 for me and the kids. But my friend, who is an individual, got $200 with no children. So
yeah,
I'm just trying to figure out who's doing the math because the math ain't mathing, right?
Okay.
So that money, not only was it hard to activate it and I had to wait even longer for it, but I'm also hitting up the food pantries. I am, voicing that I need help. So I am getting resources and stuff like that as well. But not having the food stamps that I'm used to having, which is already not enough. Like it sounds like enough, but it isn't enough because I'm still paying out of pocket and still hitting up food pantries because of the prices of everything. You know what I mean? Like I'm in the parking lot because I just went to Smart and Final for food, right? Okay. I just spent $290.
Wow.
And I have maybe 6 bags.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
and we buy in bulk. So like I got a thing of bacon, which was $30.
Wow.
Like it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's important. Go ahead. No, sorry, hon.
Oh no, it's okay. I was just gonna say like they need to really help us and put our stamps back on the card because this is not like they're starving children. You know what I mean? And it's not okay. It's not okay because even with the food pantries that they already have, they're already limited and a lot of them aren't allowing more people on the waiting list.
Exactly. Well, no, and I'm glad that you're speaking. Yeah, I'm glad you're speaking on that because a lot of people think that the food banks are throwing down and then there's other options. There's so many people in need right now that if you show up and you're not already part of their system, they're turning you away. And it's not because they're trying to be, effed up. They just don't have that amount. I think what's really important to name too, because people viewing and listening may not know. So Stephanie's in San Francisco. In San Francisco, the one thing that the city did is they gave this food card or this virtual food card that Stephanie's speaking on. What's interesting and shouting out to my sister Junebug and others is it's a limited amount of money and it's a one-time amount and they're not really basing it on how many children you have. Right. So it's like this weird, okay, we got to do something. Let's do that. And I'm not saying that I'm glad they did something. But
Mhm.
the reality is that this federal crumb that we get, as you already said, is not enough already. So how are you going to take that away? Really, in good conscience, unless you're trying to starve us. That's
Right.
absolutely what it is.
Right.
And then, right? And thank you for speaking on the prices of stuff. Because last time I checked, wherever you go, you're dropping 100, you're dropping two, three, four, just to walk
Mhm.
out with enough to feed your family in a week.
Right.
I
So,
just bought a gallon of milk for $10.
oh my
Man.
God.
ten
Oh my,
dollars for 1 gallon of milk. Like it's ridiculous. And my
no,
kids go through milk like water.
yeah, 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 yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I also wondered, because if you could just tell listeners, viewers, before when we were trying to make it on the 1,000, I think that's an important piece. Again, you brought up how soon would that run out?
So it's me and I have the 3 children that live with me, and then I have Joe that comes on a normal basis, right? And I also have my brother that lives with me, right? And he doesn't get food stamps. So it's 2 adults and 3 children and a half adult because Joe's here half the time. So with that being said, I would say the 1100 runs me at least 2.5 weeks.
Wow. Wow.
And that's not like my kids have not had the food or snacks that they wanted. You know what I mean? Because of the food scarce, I haven't bought them the treats that I usually get. Like I buy in bulk and I've been making meals so we could double up on food and have like lunch for the next day or like leftovers, you know what I mean? Usually my kids don't really do leftovers, but they haven't really had a choice.
Right. Right.
So I'll try to like remake the meat in a different way so they'll eat it, you know? I
Exactly.
don't know what else to do.
Okay.
But yeah, like
Well, yeah. Just that again, Stephanie. Thank you for sharing your knowledge on this too. And then again, going back to the hypocrisy, right? That as the country faces all these cuts, here you have the president having a Halloween party with all the lavish things that you can think of for all his rich friends,
right.
right?
Oh,
Right, like
Mhm.
a slap in the face,
Yeah,
of
with
this.
our money. With our money.
that
Basically.
part.
With
Thank
our
you.
money.
And,
Yep.
and and again, yeah, they say they give us all this song about not having resources or funds, but again, here we see them partying, and having these large banquets of filet mignon or
Right.
whatever if they eat. Um, shame on them, shame
Yeah.
on them, and again, also there is resources, but there's no resources for families, children, and mothers.
That part.
Right. And the sad part about it is like they have more resources for the elders, but the elders out in San Francisco, or I'm not like trying to be racist or anything, but the Asians and the Chinese, they get the food bank food and they'll go to the Tenderloin and sell it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So they're basically taking the free stuff to go sell it on the
Right.
street. You know what I mean? When in all reality, all that food should be given to people with children.
Well, there's a big conversation there. You brought it up. Because I feel like for me, we're all ghetto scholars trying to make a
We
buck.
should all be doing that.
Right, exactly. I think the reality is that unfortunately, this is where scarcity puts us. It
Right.
puts us angry at each other because we're crabs in this really small barrel,
Right.
holding on by a thread. And let's be real, that Asian elder selling the canned food and the beans on Turk and Larkin isn't rolling in dough,
For
right?
$4.
You already know, right? That's a hustle from the gate. As a
Yeah.
fellow vendor who used to survive on the street, yeah, we might think, well, that's effed up, but the reality is
Mhm.
fighting each other over
Oh yeah.
crumbs. We're fighting each other over crumbs. And that's what this Cracker Jack in the white people's house, that's what they want us to do. They
Hmm.
want us to be fighting each other over
Fighting
nothing.
each other, doing things we're
Over,
not supposed to be doing, like buying other people's food
thank you.
stamps.
Thank you. That part. Listen, Stephanie, because you and I could talk all night. I'm wondering if you could tell listeners and viewers a little bit about the power and the resistance of being in this movie and what it meant to you. Crushing Wheelchairs, Ashe.
Wow. Um, so it took us a while to get this movie down and edited. I did not think that all that emotion would come back watching it.
Mm.
But can I tell you that I cried that whole movie? Watching that whole movie, it came to life,
Ashe.
and I just know those that we spoke on they know that they were somebody.
Oh,
They did not die in vain.
Yes.
They did not die in vain. And to have to for me to be able to be part of that,
oh my God.
I want to keep thanking you guys so much. And I would never, I would have never thought I would be part of something like this ever. And I knew being part of Homefulness alone was a blessing.
Oh my
It
God.
still is a blessing, you know what I mean? And to have my kids part of Homefulness, and like I could have never imagined. I could
Oh,
would have never imagined. And my daughter played an amazing role as
Right.
little
Yes.
Tiny.
yeah,
Like
Kaylee.
it was just amazing. It will be something I hold with me at all times. And I know Luis Gongora Pat and his family is very grateful.
Oh.
Yes.
Can you
Very
just tell
grateful.
listeners and viewers briefly who don't know the story of Luis?
So I was the victim, one of the victims of Luis Gongora Pat that was killed by the police for absolutely no reason. Basically the reason was because he didn't understand English. He had a knife in his hand, but it wasn't even. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. It's okay.
They were telling him to put the knife down, but he didn't even have it where it was showing. It wasn't showing at all. They wanted him to take it out of his waist, and then when he wasn't listening to them to like sit down or whatever, he was nervous. Like he had guns pointed at him. Who and all I could say was he doesn't speak English. He doesn't speak English. Nobody said anything to him in Spanish.
What?
And it all of it took like a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And it was just really, really sad. It was just really sad. Shame on them.
And
Shame
Stephanie was current at that point, pregnant, on the street, houseless, in a community, and they weren't hurting anybody, But that is such a classic, sad example of the way that they treat our relatives on the street. We are no longer considered human.
No.
Right? We're no longer granted rights, even basic. And then the same racism and classism that hits Black and brown people is enhanced when you're now considered homeless people. Now you're no longer even
Right.
considered human. So Sister Stephanie witnessed that. And of course, Luis is one of the many ancestors that we honor in the Crushing Wheelchairs movie. And as you beautifully said, hon, his spirit will never die because we have memorialized it. And yet
Yes.
also the power of our ancestors. They're definitely with us.
Yes.
Dave, I just want to let people know that Stephanie is amazing. warrior. You should come out and see her. We always say we're not acting, we're living. The next showing of this powerful movie is on December 6th
Whoop, whoop. We'll be there.
at the new Parkway. Please come and be part of the prayer. It's at 6 p.m. December 6th, the new Parkway Theater in Uchun, occupied Uchun, Oakland. Check out the warrior work of all of the ancestors that we honor. Check out the warrior work of artists and poets like Ayodele Nzinga and Tongo and Luis Rodriguez and the Pool Poets. And check out the beautiful Stephanie and her daughter Kaylee are in the movie. We aren't acting, we're living. Thank you, sis, for being on here. Any
Yes.
last
Thank
words you
you.
want to say, hon? Any
Love
last
you
words?
guys. No, I'm good.
All right,
Thank
we
you
love
so
you,
much.
babe. We'll
Love
see you very
you.
soon. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Bye
right,
Thank
bye.
you, Stephanie.
bye. You're listening to Poor People's Radio. That's PNN, not CNN, people. Again, Crushing Wheelchairs, a poor people, houseless people led production. It's coming only to one more theater
Yes,
near
not to
you.
be missed.
Right. It will be again December 6th at the new Parkway. Go to www.poormagazine.org. We can reserve a ticket there. It's not a real big theater. I urge people to reserve a ticket to be real. And please share this prayer with us. Our relatives like James Edward Oakley and Luis Camage, our relatives like Shannon Marie Bigley and Tyrell Wilson and Stephen Taylor, no, they cannot be forgotten. We will never forget, and we will continue to resist.
Oh, Mateo. So that's all for this edition of Poor People's Radio. To get a complete podcast, you can go to Poor Magazine on SoundCloud or poormagazine.org or whatever you get your podcast from. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, at Poor Magazine, or at Poverty Scholar or Poor News Network on YouTube. All power to the people.
Power!
Power!
Stay tuned, relatives.
Thank
We
you,
love
Weston.
All right. We love Weston. We're going to miss him.
Yes, good luck in Hawaii.
Hawaii.